Hi, it's Jeff here from outboard-boat.com. In this video I'm going to be demonstrating how to install a piston onto a connecting rod for a two-stroke outboard. This engine is a V6 200 horsepower Evinrude. Okay, so when you first open your piston, you want to check that it's got everything in it. The piston rings, the wrist pin or gudgeon pin, okay, the retaining circlips, and of course the piston itself. Now when I first unpack a piston, I always inspect the piston for any manufacturing defects. So I just have a quick look at the casting where the ring retaining pins have been installed and just cast my eyes over it quickly. Okay, so I have the conrod ready, my Johnson Evinrude needle bearing assembly grease. Now this is specially designed grease for assembling needle rollers. I do recommend when you're installing a piston, clean the needle rollers, even though they're brand new and out of a packet. I always clean them. I'm not for this video, just for to save time. So I'll be pulling this piston back off and cleaning these needle rollers. So line them up in a straight line. If you're using the old needle rollers and you've inspected them and they're all good, then this is a good time to count all of the needle rollers and make sure that they're all there, that you're not missing any. Okay, so I take the wrist pin and use the needle bearing assembly grease and put a thin coating around it. And then a thin coating on the little end side of the conrod. Don't use any other type of grease for assembling needle rollers, just always use needle bearing assembly grease. Okay, so take the wrist pin and just roll it up the bearings. If any left behind, just pick them up and stick them onto the wrist pin. And just press around, make sure that none of them are sticking out, make sure that they're all pressed in tight. And then get one of the spacers or the washers and install it on. Always make sure that the outer side or the bigger edge is facing away from the needle rollers. Press it against the conrod. So it helps install the wrist pin into the connecting rod. Hold the washer with your fingers and push the wrist pin out. Wipe off any excess grease. Okay, now with an outboard, the piston and the connecting rod both have to face the correct way. So on this piston, it has stamped on the top of it the port and exhaust side. So it's a port piston, so we know that it goes on the port side of the engine. This is the exhaust side, so that means that has to be facing up. So I install the wrist pin from the bottom of the piston. Make sure that it's free in the piston, that it can slide in and out and not be restricted. Have it protruding just a little bit. And look down from the top through the hole and line it up into the conrod and slide it down gently. Now get the other washer and install it on the other side of the connecting rod. And then just slide it easily down. Now get your retaining rings. Now these have to go in, or I put these in a certain way. So you have the opening of the pin, of the clip, sorry. And the opening of the clip faces away from the groove or the cutout in the piston. So to install it, I have the open end away from me and push it down and into the piston, and then push it into place with a screwdriver. Turn it over, push the wrist pin down. Sorry, it's a bit blurry. And do the same on the other side. Okay, now what I do is I turn the piston over and push down on the wrist pin to make sure that the clip is seated properly, and then turn it over and do the same. Should push firmly both directions to make sure that the clip doesn't come out. And there you go. It's ready for the rings and to be installed into the engine.